Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of the Spartan Training Ground podcast. With me as usual, the prodigy himself, Andrew Taylor. Andrew, how you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. How you doing?
Doing well. This is Robert Wilson. I am, here we are recording on February 11th, and we've got some great stuff for you tonight. We'll talk a little bit about Nats, decks to expect. Andrew's got a new league mode. They're going to debut in Seattle. Excited to hear about that.
Oh
Cool
yeah.
new ways to play. And then we've got something pretty special for everyone that sticks around to the end. We are going to spoil some new Invincible cards straight
Yeah.
from LRG.
I'm sure half our listeners and viewers are here for that reason, but you get it at the end. Or maybe we'll put it in the middle and then you got to watch the whole show.
Yeah, we aren't going to let you off easy. You can't
That's
just
right.
scroll and find it. I'm going to name it something else in the show notes if I have to. So, Andrew, what have you been up to? Catch me up on life, man. How's it going?
Life is good. No complaints. We just had a monster, Seahawks victory. That was pretty crazy. Over 1 million people in the city today.
Congrats.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Not a huge football guy, but I do love the contagious energy of the city and everybody. Got to see Thomas. He came down to the restaurant, hung out a little bit, so it's cool. Life is good. No
When you have
complaints.
that many people around, that's definitely good for business, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it was supposed to be like a $500 day. It was going to be a ghost town, and instead it was, way, way more.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
Yes, it was good. Out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
I'm happy to. I was rooting for the Seahawks in that one. I don't really have a dog in the fight between two of them, but there's just something about Marshawn Lynch.
Yes, we needed
Always
our
rooting.
retribution.
Seattle's just about that action.
That's right. About that action, boss. I'm here so I don't get fined.
I can relate.
Yes.
On our life end, we are trucking towards moving back to Columbus. So
Sweet.
yeah, working on buying a house, going through inspection, trying to do all that. Hopefully this works out, and I have a place to live. We'll see.
Yeah. It's just
More to come.
unfortunate it couldn't be like 2 weeks from now. That would just be that, or a week from now. That would be pretty perfect, huh?
Yeah, my attendance at nationals is definitely looking not good.
No.
Yeah, so initially the first hurdle we had was my wife is going to a concert, so I am on dad duty. I was talking to Doug and I told him, I was like, hey, I'm trying to come. I'm even considering seeing if my mother-in-law will meet me in Columbus and flying with my 2 kids from Houston to Columbus.
Uh-huh.
So if that tells you how bad I wanted to be there, flying with a 3 and a 6-year-old and then spending time with my mother-in-law.
Yes.
And now this buying a house thing is also, we kind of didn't expect it to happen this quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kind of saw something and jumped on it. So it is not looking good. Doug, sorry.
That is so unfortunate. But you never know. Miracles happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility last minute, like, Thursday or Friday, I just end up jumping on a plane if something happens and flying to Columbus and just showing up. So it's at least I know the city and can do that. Can figure out a place to stay very easily. I don't really have to deal with any logistics. Who knows? I might have an empty house to stay in. So,
Yeah. That would be incredible. I'm pulling for you.
yeah, I may be sleeping in an empty house on an air mattress, but if that's what we got to do,
Yeah.
I'll
Or I
I'll
mean, I
do it.
got all the rooms are full, but I'm sure there's couch space at my Airbnb, so we got you as a backup.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, what is your nat? How are you feeling about Nats? What are you thinking? Are you still on double shift? Are you still on undecided? Or
No, it's funny. Somebody, who was it? James said he was like, I think it was him in the town hall. They thought I was going to bring the double shift back. I did not bring either Wukong or Witch to Philly, and that may have been a mistake, but I don't like using the same deck twice. So I guess I could build a variation or a difference, but I'm so bored of that deck and I'm annoyed every time I face it. I think I can win with something else, or at least put up a solid showing. So I was like 99.9% locked in on what I was going to bring, but now I'm not so confident anymore. I mean, I have a very, very strong contender that's like, very well rounded, solid, got a good power pack plan, got some tricks that I don't think you can like really play around in all scenarios or situations. But I'm not fully sold. I have a couple other ideas and stuff to look at. So yeah, not definitely not set in stone like I thought I was. There is a chance that like four or five of us Seattle guys are going to be bringing the same deck, maybe a couple cards off, but the same four heroes and home base, which would be very interesting if we all bring the same thing and then kind of like assume we all succeed or all like not. But it would also be, I mean, kind of annoying to have a bunch of mirror matches. If I guess if we're having mirror matches, that means we're all doing really good or really poorly. So I guess it doesn't really, it's fine. Yeah, the not fully set in stone. How about you? Are you liking the Leo Sherlock build still? If you're
So,
able to go, or is that what you're thinking?
so last casting, I talked about that deck, and just it was kind of one of those. It kind of does a little bit of everything
Mm-hmm.
type styles. So I played it, been playing in the league. It's been fine. I mean, it's not blown anything out of the water. It's not, it's not bad by any stretch. Is it something I would take?
Doesn't excite you?
Yeah, it's like it's a good do everything deck. And I think I was playing against Justin in the online league. He's like, "Yeah, this is what I took to PAX."
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it was good. Like it kind of performed the way I thought it would. But there's just, when you look at some of the decks, especially at PAX that succeeded, they kind of have some special hook, something that they want to do
Mm-hmm.
and like want you to play towards their game plan, right? Like Adam wanted to go into the power pack because Raw's staff is just gonna, decimate you.
Also, I think
Sure.
there's so few negates that I think Asclepion and Baker Street both kind of have an edge when you're not facing those negate decks because it's you know what I mean. Like if you get that heal off, massive card advantage, and you're totally swinging the game back the other direction.
Yeah, and like we talked about, you don't need to build around it. I mean, you just a couple activations here or there,
Hmm.
and that one two cards is enough to swing a match. And again, looking at like Sean Ballantyne's PAX deck, it kind of has a plan and an end game. Obviously the Wheel Witch does too. So it kind of didn't have that punch, like that inevitability.
Yeah.
So, I would probably look at something that does have that. I mean, if you put a gun to my head, like am I gonna have a deck sleeved up just in case I have to hop on a plane and, not sleeve up something at, 1 a.m. the night before?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll have at least Adam's energy deck sleeved up.
Hmm.
I'll put that out there. It doesn't bother me for people to know what I'm playing. I don't know. I'm just so used to it. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
especially if you're working with people like you are on like a team style deck. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
I'd keep that to myself, but I'm not working with anyone. I'm trying to get my life together. We're trying to get our
Yeah.
lives together over
For
here.
sure. For sure. I had a lot
Yeah.
of fun recently in the online leagues with his deck is totally not my style, but it was decimating. I think it's like 10-1 or something like that. It's Wukong, Count, and Deja. So double draw three, round table to place the Gemini to get another one. And it's definitely not my style because I like decks that can hang in the power pack, but it's definitely like you have to win before you get there because you have 51 cards and you're accelerating through it so quickly. But it definitely was a lot of fun, and I think opened my eyes a little bit to some alternate stuff, and it's fairly similar. I mean, we saw Diego with the same build, but he had Nemo instead of Count, so like very very similar. He's just got a little bit more defense, a tiny bit slower. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think so. I had an interesting match. Was it against, I forget who it was in the online league. But basically what it came down to is I knew like I had a good hand and I was up like I think I had 18 cards and they were significantly less and I think I bet 5 to keep them in
Hmm.
and it just felt like it was like I was up on card advantage. I had this time and I could I thought anything less than 4 and they're definitely running at 3. 4
Hmm.
is a maybe. 5 is there's no way they're not staying in.
Hmm.
So I bet 5. I mean, I think I was up 3 cards when it was all said and done. I still lost the hand. They had the right combination of cards,
Were they all
and
keepers? They kept all three?
yeah, they kept them all.
Uh,
And then
it's always a bummer.
they had Joan of Arc, so they
The
they were
EFO.
able to avoid a combat. I think card I forget what the attack was. And then I
Hmm.
think I had two other intellect attacks or like icons in my hand.
Lockdown.
So they got like a 3-for-1 out of it. And just like kind of, but like looking for like that, if you're playing decks where you're having these like, massive draw threes and you're kind of like playing towards one battle, like, you know, I think I see a lot of people not being willing to kind of take the big swings when they can get it.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're like, I mean, you can do the conservative, like sometimes you see like the bet two every time,
Hmm.
but like if you kind of like you just talked about, if you are cycling through your deck and just drawing a ton of cards, you can't do that every time. So you're
Right.
probably setting it. You probably have like two battles where you could probably really have a huge advantage on your opponent, and you need to kind of venture otherwise. So I would tell people as they're going to nationals, like, okay, so you're working towards this scenario of whatever your deck wants to do, and venture accordingly. To that. So if you only have like a big hand or two, probably a match, then that's where you're probably going to make up the big part of your venture if you're going to win.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I totally agree. I played Dave twice yesterday, and his style is just completely different. And I do pretty well against him, but he has a 70 card deck, and so he just knows he can outlast. And he was doing the same thing. He just bides his time and pays attention to placement better than I do, and waits till the second I'm in power pack. And then, he's up a couple of cards and boom, it's a bid five for the win. And one, two, three, they're all duplicates, they all get thrown away. And I mean, he was down two characters to my three or four, and I still killed his whole team, but it didn't matter because he won venture. So it was a full spiritual victory, you know what I mean? But one of those expert things where like he saw this is my window. He's in power pack. I was like six cards into power pack or something. So I had one or two off the top, and one of them was a power card anyways. But yeah, there's definitely something to be said about alternate styles and making your, shoving the chips all in when you should. And I think that's one area I can grow as a player because I am far too timid, and it's usually bets one through three. Like I'll occasionally go three if I'm feeling confident, but very rare is it four plus, and sometimes that's the right call and what you need to do.
venturing and placing are like the two hardest skills
Hmm.
in this game by far, and it's just so different than any other game out there. It just makes it so unique. Yeah, but I mean, kind of like I just talked about, like you just talked about with Dave, right? Like you knew the scenario that you wanted and bet big in those scenarios, and it's how kind of when people are thinking about that for their decks and for nationals. Keep that in mind. Like, what is your win look like? What
Yep.
is the scenario you want to set up? Like, in Magic and competitive, a lot of this time, like people think, oh, so and so gets lucky a lot, and it's like, no, that's not what's happening. That's kind of the cop out answer. What's actually happening is you are playing towards a particular scenario and set of cards, and your actions along the way maximize that scenario happening. And then when that happens, the result that you want, whether it's kind of, stalling out to draw whatever cards you need, or, like you're playing towards this end game, with everything you're doing leading up to that and with that in mind.
Hmm.
So, think long term. Don't just think in the moment, like, oh, do I, you know, this two might kill me, but I have to trade a six to keep it. But if I let this character go, can I use this six to have venture total? Because that's essentially 4 points you're giving up, right?
Right.
So,
And how many
if
specials have I seen for that character? And
yeah, and think these things through, and really kind of mentally keep track of the cards you've played. So it's just don't. I guess putting a bow on that ramble. Just think long term. Think about what your plan is. Play towards that plan, and you're going to get rewarded some number of times for doing it.
absolutely agree.
So if you are going into this, are you thinking what's more important? Negates, card advantage? Are you trying to do it all? Are you, Baker Street versus Barsoom? If you show up with Barsoom, if someone was with Barsoom, I would love that. If you
Yeah.
can win the Nats with it.
Marcel's been the only one so far to show up and kick ass with Barsoom. I've heard some rumblings from some other people on a max 7 deck that can trick out the whole front line and make them all 8 brute force, and you still play like three eights and 3 pumps in your deck. And some wild weirdness, but I don't know if that's actually if it's a meme or if it's a real thing. I'm being told it's a real thing, but I've yet to see it or test against it. But this set's so balanced. There's like you can't have it all. I mean, I have a new respect for Tarzan from getting my ass kicked by him so many times lately. Not just the 1v1, but also the teamwork, the extra confusion or disorient, stop the teamworks. He's so strong. It brings venture. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because like there was a long period in our group where we said that you can't run Merlin because he has no venture. He only has the four. And then a couple people started messing with him, and they're like three negates that does equal venture because you're gonna stop big cards or you're gonna stop chains and keep your guys alive or whatever. Also, the peak is so underrated. Like the ability to like see if it's a teamwork, it's getting shipped to the bottom because those are so great late game. If it's a duplicate, it's probably going to the bottom to prevent you from duping. But like that scry is so incredible. And in ERB, all of the negators, they don't really bring any venture with them, like Morgan, Van Helsing, Sherlock, Mummy, Mina, and Merlin. I'm pretty sure that's the six. I mean, Van Helsing has a little bit. He has a 6/2 multi, but and a 5. But most of them have like no venture. So you really have to give up a lot for that. Now, that being said, negates are amazing. They're so incredible. Like they stop everything. They stop your Asclepion heals. They stop your Baker Street, Carson, open your hand, get rid of two things. They stop Reaper. They stop the 9+ attacks when you don't have an avoid. They get rid of like Cthulhu's the Call and, cards that can just completely mess you up all by themselves. So they are absolutely super valuable and they're appropriately costed, I think, in this set. And both the first two tournaments I went to, I brought Mina, and I definitely felt a lot more comfortable with the three negates, but it's also 3 extra on top of Merlin. But it's also very, very hard to keep her alive. I don't think I'll be bringing her this time. I think I'm going to kind of have it's pretty well rounded, the deck. It's very fast. It has a lot of offensive power. It's kind of my style where I'm trying to trade, and by trade, I mean kill 2 of your guys by the time you've killed 1 of mine. And so it has reasonable venture, but not like insane. Nothing like the Ohio guys bring, like Corey had a deck the other day. It was so awesome. I was watching online. He had Wukong, 3 Musketeers, and Sheriff. And I was like, oh my Lord. Like, I have an 11, a 9, a bunch of 6s, a bunch of 7s, 8s, like literally everything. And then, crazy teamwork strings. And the Sheriff has that one turn where he pops the +2 and does all the insanity. And then 3 Musketeers can defend the team. Wukong's great at defending the team. Or at least, he can dump all those teamwork hits on the 3 Musketeers and they basically ignore them. Yeah, very cool, very powerful, aggressive style deck. I've yet to try it, but that one looks really fun and interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I feel a little bit safest with kind of something that does everything. So I do feel safe with a character who has at least a 1 per deck negate so that I got 2 of them in there total. So I'm not just getting hosed by the crazy swing cards. I certainly think there's something to be said about either a couple of your frontliners having an attack that makes an additional, and then you can go ally into that, so you're threatening like 3 or 4 card strings. I think Cthulhu's underrated, and even Jones still, even though we've seen a lot of her. The teammates make a additional, and just throwing like crazy strings like that. Me and Thomas talk a lot about free actions, and like that's why defense is so amazing. Negates, Tarzan's disorient, even shift stuff, like anything defensively is a free action. In addition, string attacks are free actions. You can dump, like if you're placed out and your opponent's placed out, and you can throw like 6 attacks at once, they can't stop them all. They throw 1 attack back at you, you defend it or take it, whatever, and then all of a sudden they're up cards, but depending on how you manage like the place cards and whatever, they might not be up cards. It might just be you dumped your hand and they had to use place cards to defend or whatever. You just concede and run away or continue the pressure and KO a guy. I think free actions are very underrated and not paid attention to. So string attacks and the fear of your guy dying is scarier than big venture hits are, because there are battles where both people, stick their sword, draw their swords and it's go time and they slug it out till the end. But almost always somebody's conceding. So it's like, it's this dance of like place cards, cards in hand, threatening to KO characters, this like constant back and forth. And all the pros are always, thinking every action, am I running? Am I running? Am I running? Instead of just full bore, go for it, or I'm running pre-battle. Obviously, against land that time forgot, you got to, adjust your strategy on that one a little bit. But for the most part, that's kind of how it is. So, speaking of long-winded rants,
No,
yeah.
no, that was good. I think a lot of people stay in too long, and that's kind of the biggest mistake a lot of people make
Mm-hmm.
in matches. They, maybe they want to go in a couple cards, see what happens, and then like you said, they kind of get sucked in, like in for a penny, in for a pound, and they just, it ends up getting, kind of devastating them on some level, and really being cognizant of like always evaluating, is this the time to run? Like you can kind of start counting up and reassessing your kind of venture total pretty quickly after a card or two. Like they've got X amount placed, and like one of the things, like when I was first getting back into the game, like watching in particular Phil Miller, like who just like never wanted to play any placed cards, like would,
Mm-hmm.
like you could see it in like his old videos where he would basically play out of his hand unless he had to play something placed, because that's
Yep.
essentially how you generate your card advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So like, an easy example of this is, you're placing whatever. If someone, you place a card or two and someone stops, like okay, so you keep everything, you place two cards for whatever reason, they have six in hand. I'm gonna place as many as I can and then run. Just bet one
Oh
and
yeah.
run.
Yep.
100% of the time. Like if you're gonna leave six cards in hand, I'm gonna go up on some card advantage. And like we were talking about in whatever online league match I was playing, I was up like 18 cards or whatever, or like
Mm-hmm.
something crazy. I think I was fully placed out and then had eight in hand. Like that's how I did it. It was just running and then setting myself back up for a big venture. So and look for those spots. Like if you just see someone stranding like four or five cards in their hand for placing, consider running there. And if they have a bunch of cards in their hand and they're not placing, that tells you either A, they're not thinking about it, or B, they have a bunch of any characters in their hand.
Yep. That's what I was just gonna say.
And you can, really duck a losing battle for you. Like if you're looking at their placing and they've got like, they have open special slots on their characters and they've got a bunch of cards in hand, I'll guarantee you everything, at least two any heroes in hand at a
Mm-hmm.
minimum. It might be as many as four. So, a good time to run. Like I've ducked a lot of Reapers just on that notion. Like they've got a lot in hand. So, something to consider, like really watch how many cards people are placing. And like when I'm playing people, I ask all the time, like how many cards do you have in hand? And that's kind of why, like I'm trying to think of like what's in their hand at that time to like play it out like mentally, like okay, if they do this, I have this, and then the back and forth. So good tip there. If they have a bunch of
Yep.
cards, run. It's any characters.
For sure. I also think order of placement matters. People just kind of throw down their cards in any order, kind of willy-nilly, and they're not, one, not paying attention to what their opponent's placing, which is bad. But two, like you don't want to place your Morgan Duality or your Mina, or Witch discard a place card, or Robin Hood discard a place card, stuff like that. You don't want to place that first, or Count of Monte Cristo, steal a power card. You don't want to throw that down first. Then your opponent's just going to not place a power card. And I see that a lot with newer players. It's just kind of like, I'm going to try and fill all the slots. It's like, yes, you want to do that, but also, you could change the order of your hand or whatever. Think about the order in which you want to do it. Which ones are the bangers that you want to reveal at the very last moment? Because it does give your opponent info, and you should be gaining info from their placing as well and what order they're doing. Like, oh, they placed a 7 to their Leonidas. He's their max 8 character. They probably don't have an 8 in their hand, right? Because if they'd have an 8, they'd most likely place that. Now, of course, you could get real tricky and, use reverse psychology and not do that. But in general, 9 times out of 10, if not more, when they place a 6 or a 7 power card to their max 8 guy, and that's their biggest power card they're showing, they probably don't have a bigger one in hand. Little
Yeah,
things like that.
my strategy on placing power cards is typically I try to place like the one, two, and three,
Mm-hmm.
because I can, especially the threes, because I can use it to defend like an ally, or the four, like teamwork. But importantly, like I'm saving them for defense for, multiple characters in theory. Like, say I have Arthur and Leonidas, right? Like if I place that 7 to Leonidas, That's just like a green light to go after Arthur. Like, because anything above 7 is probably going to hit. Like it's definitely probably, your odds are good. So when you're placing, especially cards that would be, defensively and power, higher power cards are premium defense in this format, you're just telegraphing where you're open.
Yep.
So, I like placing the 1s and 2s, and,
The
those
ones
are
that
pretty
won't
much all
dupe.
off suits. Yeah, 1, you're not going to dupe on them. 2, if you can, throw them as a kill shot and force someone into a bad defensive play, like, we just talked about, like if I throw this 1 that's going to kill your character and you have to use a 4 or 5, like maybe I get a 2 or 3, like sure, but sometimes you get that 4 or 5, maybe
Or
a 6,
6. Yeah.
and you've just swung like quite a bit of venture right there. So like we said, kind of playing to those scenarios, like, placing those cards and thinking, like, having that in your head, like when you want to use it. That's an example of kind of playing to those, what feels lucky. Oh, you got lucky. You killed my character. Like, no, I sat this here waiting for you to be in a bad spot, saw the opportunity and took it. Like, so yeah. Good
I hate placing power cards. I hate placing them. I agree with you on the 1 and the 2, or if I'm running like 1 8 ranker, then throwing an 8 on them. Aside from that, I just hate it because there's just so little defense in this format. I want to hold them in hand for sneaky attacks that like follow a teamwork, or most of the time, 9 times out of 10, defense. But then you get, those situations where you got a fistful of cards and they can run away. So you have to place them sometimes to not fall too far behind. Drives me nuts.
Right, and yeah, if it's kind of exactly what you just said. If you're stuck with a bunch of cards in your hand, they just run and you've lost card
Mm-hmm.
advantage. So you got to be mindful of that too.
Yeah, you can kind of steer them to attack a certain character, like it's kind of next level stuff. But like you said, where you're placing them and what numbers they are, you can kind of steer them to attack a certain character because they'll be like, oh, he has a 2 place to this guy, and I have an ally and then this chain that's all like 3 and above. So I'm going
Hmm.
to start launching at that guy versus the guy who has the 6, because with the 6, he's going to stop one of the cards in the chain.
So, what do you think about the uh, the home bases? I mean, it seems like to me, if you can't take advantage of Baker Street or Asclepion, you're playing round table. Asclepion generates you card advantage. Baker Street, usually you're trading card for card on it, but you're usually getting, in terms of quality, you're trading up in terms of, typically you're getting a better card. Like if my Irene Adler hits you from Sherlock, right? Like even
It's
if I
kind of a
just
2
throw
for
it on a
1.
character, right? Like, yeah, I'm gonna take your best card in hand, even if I have to throw it on like a max 6 that, for some one reason or another, I know can't block it, but now I get the information of your hand and your best card.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is the information for Baker at least.
So which do you like better going into nationals, or
I
either
mean,
surprise me and tell me Barsoom is the play?
I wish. No, I mean it might be, but I have not we have not experimented with it hardly at all. So I mean I think maybe there's something there, but I don't know. I think it's too situational and I like consistency. I think Roundtable is by far above and the best. And that's kind of unfortunate because the other ones are so cool, and it's very unlikely I'll even be bringing Roundtable because my main deck is something else, but I think it's just the best, and that's because of placing. Like, yeah, you can load up a deck and you can have 7 specials for each of your characters, and you can throw an extra one on there. And sometimes that's really nice. Like if you have Witch and you got her 7 or her 8 placed to her, and you're like, shit, I've harnessed the wind and they're gonna run, so slap it on the home base. Like situationally, it can be great, but just comparing that to like being able to place your turn 1 Gemini, or being able to carry like your Freya or your Cataclysm or your Reaper through multiple hands. Take your Reaper into the power pack, just let it sit there until you're in power pack, and then all of a sudden it's a guaranteed blow up 4. Like it's so strong, and it pains me to say that because there's so many really cool thematic awesome home bases. But yeah, you really got to like lean into it, or if you're just playing like neutral awesome characters, then Roundtable is kind of the default. Like I wish Event Horizon was good, like maybe someday. It's technically the only base that you can start off with a 9-card hand, because if you dupe on an event hand 1 and you're going second, you get to do the mulligan replace, and then the home base replaces the dead event. So you end up, and then you draw to replace the main event. So you end up with 9 if you draw exactly 2 and you're going second. But like that's such a small and niche bonus that like it's not worth it. And most of these events aren't like legacy events. They're not doing that much crazy stuff. I think that kind of like I said earlier, Asclepion and Baker will always punish non-negate decks. Like if you just have a big pile of Venture on your team and attack and defense and strings and stuff, you are going to get, those that Carson open your hand, show me your info, and you got to get rid of two and stuff like that happening to you, or the Morgan full heal, draw an attack, and just undo all the work of the last three battles you've tried to, chip away at a character. But I also think there's something to be said about the expensive ones, like Spartan and Dracula's Armory they both give you a power pack plan that's not Moriarty or Joan or Raw or anything like that. Like you carry those into the power pack, and all of a sudden it's not just 8 against 8. You can throw for Spartan, you can throw a 5 as a 9 and kill your opponent's max 8. Or you could, same thing with Drax Armory. And then there's also Land That Time Forgot, which totally changes how you play. If your opponent's good with it, I don't really know the numbers, but I would guess at least 80% of people run Hades. And all of a sudden that's a really, really bad card instead of a get out of jail free card, because it's still a concede. So unless you time it exactly right, and it already needs to be timed at a specific point, but now you need to have defense in addition. Felipe and Sean both love that home base, and I don't know how they find the points for it, but they do. And just getting rocked with an 8 after you run away, and it's one of those things where you forget about it at the worst times, and you can't always play around it even if you're mindful of it. And so halfway through a battle, it turns and you're like, oh shit, I gotta bail. And then boom, he takes out a character on your way out. And it's, well, okay, man, that's possibly the game right there. Mm-hmm. So there's something to be said with all the home bases. I do think Barsoom and Event Horizon are the worst, but I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong and see somebody just wreck with one of those. But yeah, I think overall, just bread and butter, Roundtable is so freaking good. Also, Roundtable hosts any characters, so you're never going to get your placement slot jammed up with a character that gets KO'd like any of the other ones, which is something that happens fairly often.
Yeah, I found myself in that situation before, for sure. I mean, there's just something that feels like a security blanket when you have Roundtable and you place like Freya to it. And you're like, yeah, I have the answer for your Reaper right here. Like, I just don't have to think about it anymore, and I can plan accordingly. So it's such a good, like I said, it really feels like a security blanket when you're playing. And like talking about events, I mean, one event I've started playing lately is I think it's from the John Carter mission set where it comes up and you can remove a card with remainder of the game text.
Oh yeah,
using that as a counter to EFL.
Yep.
Like, because it's for the most part free to have in your deck. Like, there's just so few cards that are kind of affected by that, but the cards that are, if your opponent is playing it, you want them off the board immediately. So it's kind of a free negate after the fact to get it. So I think that's a card people should kind of give some consideration to. I mean, that's not the only card it affects, obviously, but that's kind of like you see EFL sitting across the table and it's shit. And I can't remember, does that include any card? Would that get Raw's staff, or is that just special?
No, it's just a special. I'm 95% sure. But you can still get Hera or Cthulhu's The Call, or yeah, there's a decent amount that are out there. The only risk to playing events is like if every once in 1 in 30 games or whatever, when your opponent bids 3 or 4, you're gonna draw it off of that. Or if you have I wouldn't play events in an Asclepion deck because you're doing so much drawing. Or like that deck I talked about earlier with Count and Deja with the double draw 3s. Because you never want to rip an event off of your draw. That just really feels bad. But if you don't have a draw deck, yeah, I totally agree. That's a really good one. Even worth sacrificing the 3 Venture to get rid of something like that. You got to make sure it's got to fit in your deck. Because if you have EFL or you have some card that goes late game and is a remainder of game card, you don't want it to get sacrificed in your opponent to get value out of it. I was experimenting a lot with both in Philly and my recent deck, the event from the same mission set where you pop the reserve up for a battle. And I think it's really cool, and situationally it can be great, but I found especially with the double shift meta, that card is often going to help my opponent because if they have one of their shift cards, they can just dump all their hits on their useless reserve guy, and then they're getting more use and more value out of it than I am. So, I mean, I don't even that one ended up getting pulled, but it's still a fun one. The shift one is really popular, also the same event set, but I mean that affects both players. So like it's like, ooh, I'll get protect my one character or whatever. I think that one really gets leverage with like a King Arthur or a Mummy or someone where they have or you Victory or Watson or somebody who has like a teammate protection of some type. That one can be really good. I do like the who was it? I think it was Dave was telling me you should just throw a training or a basic in every single deck because so many people play the event where they count a venture and you get to fetch one out of your like deck or dead pile. It's like, yeah, the 5 any training might be worth running, in some decks. It's pretty good, but a basic, I don't know about running a basic, just having it in your deck. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess if you're Wicked Witch and then you can go get it back with shiny shoes, like I don't Tars Tarkus, you can place it. I don't know. Seems a little ambitious, but
Well, if you're running a 70 card deck, you need fun cards to put in, right? So
that's true.
I
That
can
is
see
also true.
why it works for Dave.
Yeah, I think the Summon Ally event, which is I think the orange set, that one's also pretty good. You'll catch somebody off guard with it because occasionally I see people run like one or two allies in their deck, but everybody I play with always runs at least three, sometimes four. So that usually ends up being like a 3 for 3. Now, if you're playing like Angry Mob Industrial or Zeus, somebody who can like wipe all the placed allies or all the placed universe cards, like that's kind of a combo that I mean I could see it'd be worth running.
So wait, hold on. You're now advocating for people to run angry industrial
No,
mob.
no, 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 no. I'm saying you gotta find some type of combo. No, they have had 0 deck appearances in any tournament, and I believe it will stay that way. No, they're the lamest of the mobs. I mean, their 8 multi looks so pretty, but no. Next set, don't get me wrong. Next set with all the advanced universe cards we're gonna see, and people are gonna want to place those. Boom, frying them all. Or if we get a heavy like Spartan or Dracula's Armory meta, like we might see some of them. But as of right now, I think it's nothing. The one event that
I like some of these situational cards that aren't good now that might be good later. Just as a side thought,
yeah,
like
yeah,
to
to
always
change up things.
keep your mind.
Yeah, I think the no brute force they don't count to venture and the intelligence don't count to venture. Those can definitely catch you with your pants down. Like you gotta for sure build your deck around those to get use out of them, but they are something. And then brute force has had the least showing of all 4 of the suits, and I mean obviously for good reason. Like they just don't quite compare to all the weird things that all the others can do. But they do have the sickest event built for them, and that is the any power icons become brute force for this battle. So, I mean, a lot of people run like an offsuit 8 any, even if they have a mono 8 deck or like all one color or whatever, in order to just like fade the Reaper because they want to have a little extra insurance and they don't get wiped for 4 of the same icon color. And almost everyone plays the 6 and 7 any power teamworks. And then if you have a split grid deck, which are very popular, you often have 7, 6, 5 any power cards. And that event, it can absolutely get you. All of a sudden, you can have like a teamwork place that you can't even play, or you can draw that hand and then it's just completely dead. And that one can like really get you. So that's and if you're playing Hercules or Cthulhu or Modern Mob, like Baker or something, I think that's the event that you go for because that you can also turn into sneaky spectrum KOs. Like all of a sudden it can just KO a character. But I think that's like the most impactful event that could flip a game.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how the no energy and no combat towards venture events do once Invincible launches, and those I'm talking about those because those were in the welcome test decks
Yeah.
that they were handing out at conventions. So I don't think anyone is surprised that those are in there, and that's kind of public information there. I want to see how those kind of shape things up, and how people start playing. How will it affect the structure of people's power packs? Potentially to play around it, and then it makes you weaker, like you said, to those brute force decks, because you always run those events. That any power icons are brute force for the battle. Like
Mhm.
there's just kind of free to do, and you can generate card advantage out of it by making cards unusable. So there's no reason not to do it if you're in the brute
Right.
force suit.
And you know about it, so you can make sure you're calculating any power hits you take previously before you see your event and
Mm.
stuff like that. I think that, yeah, it's interesting they released just two of the four suits don't count to venture. They should have just given us all four. That way we could have had some sort of counter to like the fact that 90% of decks are combat decks. Like maybe it would have flushed and evened things out like a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, that feels like the next order consequence to me. Like people would try to like if it becomes like an auto include, like well people are gonna pivot from combat just not to get blown out. Or, if you have that event, like like if you try to run, they're just gonna venture bigger than you, right? And that kind of happens that way. I think those cards are generally okay. I don't think they're so swingy that you don't want to use them. I mean, they're not nearly as devastating as the ones from the legacy games.
Oh
So
yeah, no kidding. KO a
just
frontline character. No teamworks this battle. That you can put three different events that all do the same thing. Yeah,
yeah.
insane. And then we got some useless events, like the both players reveal two cards from their hand. Like I'd never seen anyone play that. Um, there's
And it doesn't like I've seen a couple people ask questions in the Discord, oh, does this affect, like Baker Street? They revealed cards. Can I take one? Like, no, you didn't play it. You have to play the card. But so like you can't even. I don't know. It's just like, oh, let's just think of something. And
it's a filler event.
yeah, like I get what they were trying to do and not be so swingy on the events, but like he almost went the other way and watered it down too much to where it's not even playable. How well, they'll find a balance for it. I have no doubt some good stuff is coming in the next set, whenever that may be.
For sure.
But so I want to hear more about this league mode you guys are trying in Seattle.
Yeah, so
Could this become official?
I'm hoping it does. So a couple of reasons that this thing spawned. This is all my dad, Mr. Doug Taylor. He did a league that Decipher ran way back in the day. Actually, two different ones. One was Star Wars and one was Lord of the Rings. And the idea is it's all community building. It's not super competitive. It's more about fun and community and engagement. So you get like points. You get big points for bringing friends, like new people who haven't tried it. And then you get points for like doing things that are like thematic. So we haven't like fully finished fleshing it out yet, but basically like for a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen deck, you get points for like landing Alan Quartermain as a hit, that ally card, or using Mr. Hyde and, attacking the reserve, or boosting him or Captain Nemo's grid, or like stuff like that. Or there might be like a Cthulhu themed one, and it's about like sacrifice one of his followers, one of your other characters, and then win venture for that battle. Stuff like that. It's going to be all theme based, and it'll encourage people to build wacky decks. You get like 1 point for winning, so it's like it's something, but it's more about like pulling off wacky combos and doing stuff that's thematically appropriate to whatever it is. And then you get big points for bringing people. So the last couple of leagues which were 20 plus years ago, were incredibly successful. There's also an interesting way to do teams. So like everybody split into their own little teams. And so there's like a veteran on every team, and there's a rookie on every team, and then a couple intermediates. And, so you're kind of bringing up the new guys with the veterans. And then at the end, whichever team scores the most points, he gets like a little trophy made, or last time it was like had everyone's name engraved on the trophy, and a little ceremony thing. So I think it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a ton of fun. We have a lot of players who are not, try hard like I am, and there is a place for everyone in this game. And I think that fun is the main thing. And we see this $10,000, $15,000 prize, and sometimes fun can be like, oh, that's secondary because I need to find something that wins. But at the end of the day, it's a game. We're all trying to have fun, like we're doing with the online league. That's what I do with most of my matches, anything except a serious tournament. It's all about fun and having a good time. And so I think that this league thing will be awesome to recruit new people. It'll be awesome to get the newer players who have kind of dabbled more into it and more kind of attracted and driven to like, oh, this is fun, this is cool. And, like we had a couple young kids that go to Zulus and play with us every once in a while. And, like not super competitive, but like one kid, he's collecting, cards and now he has his own full deck. And like that'd be something he would love and could totally participate in. So I think it will be really cool. And Joe has said that if it's successful and if it catches on, which it will, because my dad's a genius at creating communities out of thin air, and getting the growth and the spontaneity and all that. If it's successful and he builds something organized, and organization is also another thing he's amazing at, he may adopt it and make it like an official league thing. And it could change seasonally, like Invincible will come out and he'll do an Invincible themed one, or build Invincible villains, and you have Doc Seismic and whatever. And like you could do so many different things with it, and it's just all about fun and combos and bringing new people. That's kind of the heart behind it.
I think it's cool coming up with ideas to get people to play these other characters that just otherwise you're not gonna see, and to just kind of explore that fun part that kind of at some point really drew us all in, which is like, oh man, I just love this character, I just want to play them and just like feel like I'm using them, and making giving a home to some of these other characters, I think is awesome. I think this sounds like a just like a fun way to play it, and to kind of remind people that there's more to it than the competitive aspect. I mean, but I know both of us are like hyper spiky people, but like sometimes I look around, like especially like legacy cards, like, oh man, can I make any of these home bases work?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because like, oh man, like I want to use like Asteroid M, like like, is this like a viable team I'd ever take to an NAL event? Like, no. But would I go and
But it would be
just like,
cool.
yeah, like, and like having a home for that, for the casual things, I mean, I think is great. I mean, I think if you look at card games, the majority, this is definitely true in Magic, certainly in a lot of other card games, like the casual tabletop is the majority of the player base. I mean, I
Yep.
think that's probably, it's the divide is probably closer in overpower than most, just kind of because the game is kind of getting started back up, and most of the people that are kind of the old legacy players. I mean, people will trickle and people will, like, the casual will expand, but having an onboarding vehicle for that casual and to keep it light, I think is an important aspect to the future growth of the game. So I think it's a really smart idea, and your dad coming up with it, and then LRG to look at this and think like, if this catches on, like let's embrace it. And LRG, to their credit, is good at taking in feedback and really listening to the community, and they kind of have a just kind of the small nature of their operation has an agility to it that something like Wizards of the Coast just will never have.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm with
that's
you.
cool. Definitely keep us posted on that, and when it launches, we'll kind of help people get in, and where to find it and where to be involved. And yeah, looking forward to hearing
Yeah,
more about it.
will absolutely. Maybe I'll do some videos on my YouTube channel about it or something. We're going to start it in March because February is time for nationals, but at the end of today or end of this month, it will be a pretty big pivot to that. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that time between Nats and
Skybound.
Skybound comes out is like a good time to like experiment, have some fun, and kind of get that palate cleanser of a different experience, and just like establish that love for the game in a fun environment. I assume most of us started at the kitchen table just playing, like, oh, I want to play the X-Men, like they're cool, like that's how I started,
Yep, absolutely.
so yeah, I'm excited to see more and do it myself. There are definitely some characters I want to play more of that just aren't competitive. I'm looking at you, Invisible Man. But,
Yeah, he was just who sprang to my mind too.
yeah,
Yes.
but I know there are some number of people who are just like looking at their watch, like, when are we gonna get to Invincible? When are we gonna spoil us the new cards? Tell us news. So
That's
let's
right.
do
Big
it.
thanks to Joe and LRG for letting us spoil these never before seen cards before.
Yeah, and I will, for people that are looking at it on video, I will pull up the cards here. So if you are
And if you're
looking
listening
at
on
it,
Spotify, you're SOL.
yeah, we'll try our best to read out the cards. But if you're watching on video, you get, a little more of a treat. I mean, we'll start with the ones we know just to kind of talk through them.
For sure.
And then we'll kind of get to the new ones, assuming I don't accidentally scroll by that. You might be able to see them if you're watching on video. But so Invincible, 3 energy, 4 combat, 7 brute force, 3 intelligence, 19 threat level. I like that this is a 19 threat level at 7, which seems to be a kind of hole in the current, set of characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these are solid stats at a threat level that, sorely could use some punch at 19.
And some punch is definitely what he brings. Yep, brute
Yeah,
force needs some love.
he does. We'll start with kind of the one per deck we know about. I am Invincible. For a remainder of battle, all attacks on Invincible's team are shifted to Invincible. At the end of battle phase, once missions have been moved, all hits from current battle are removed and not added to Invincible's permanent record.
So thematically cool.
Yeah, this is totally in line with the character where he just gets the crap beat out of him and then he's ready to fight all over
Yep.
again.
Yep. Pulling it off might be a little tricky, but if he's able to, it's going to be like your opponent's eyes are going to widen for sure when they throw everything because they got to get him down. They got to burst him down. Everything's coming at him and then just nope.
And this kind of plays into the shift even more. You're just, maybe you can't shift exactly where you want it, but if you want it Invincible and you can, have a couple defensive stoppers to keep him alive, if you can let a couple cards go and stop what really matters, I mean, this, can really put someone at a disadvantage and let you punch back and take out a character or two and you not lose anything.
Yeah.
Really. I like that it doesn't help you on venture. It feels fair
Mm-hmm.
in that regard. But this also, I think, is a competitively viable card as well. And I like that, a lot of the cards. So, we've talked about it before, like in the old game where you're typically running 3 of a few cards. And the reason you're running 3 of cards is because you have a character with like 2 or 3 good specials. And then everything else is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
That you kind of have to run multiples of the good stuff because everything else is so bad. Like I like that they have come up with like situationally playable cards. Maybe you don't always want it, but I feel like this is a card you'd want.
Yeah, I mean, think about that like place to him. Like you could pop it near the end of the battle, and if he's got a hit or 2 on him, I mean, it cleanses everything, right? Permanent record and current battle.
Hits from current battle are not moved to permanent record.
Okay, so it's just permanent or just current battle. Okay.
Yeah, just current battle. That's effective.
Still,
and it's important to note that this can be played defensively
too.
So maybe you do that to protect like a linchpin character.
Yep. Somebody's like 1 hit away from death, and then siphon all the hits to him, and then he survives, and the other character survived.
So I think there's some cool defensive strategies that you can do beyond just like an avoid style, or a fairy protection type lockout. So this card will 100% see play.
Yes.
Let's see some of the other cards we have seen. So
it's the big one.
Invincible, without a big attack. Extreme measures. Axe is a level 10 brute force attack. Invincible is -2 to all actions, while this card is a hit from current battle on a character.
So cool. So cool. A Timmy 10.
Again,
boom.
Thematically on the character, hit the nose. Like he just, like in the show, just like goes all in for some big attack, and then it's just like, just like weakened for the rest of the fight.
Yep, that's okay. You just save it till the end and then throw it at the very end of the fight. Boom, that's a knockout shot right there.
Yeah, and you just kind of always have to be like cognizant that you could just, lose a character at any time that just has like 2 hits on him.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is sweet. I like this card. Like having a big attack, being a 19 with like a premier defensive card, and then a big hit to like generate venture or take character out is pretty big at the
Yeah,
19 spot.
I'm thinking him and Cthulhu because they both have the big brute force. Cthulhu 11 and this 10 is a KO, or this 10 and any 5 with Cthulhu's the call is a KO. That's a fun one.
Next card, let's see what we've already seen. So
Oh, yep.
combat training acts as a level 5 combat defense, +1 for each hit on Invincible's current record and permanent record. May defend Invincible or teammate. Wait, is this one of the new ones?
I don't remember which 3 they have in the starter. I think the 10 was a new one. I don't think that was seen before.
I thought. Well, we just
That's
got to do it.
fine. But yeah,
This
this is some epic anti-Korak tech because we all know Korak is running these streets out here with his 3 energy that may only be blocked by a card with a combat icon.
I mean, having any kind of team defense like is pretty big
It is.
in the format. So I think this card's great.
Yep.
You know,
Interestingly, you can't attack with it, even though it has an icon. It's shield only, right?
yep, it's only defense, and the fact that it can scale
Yeah.
and is synergistic with I am invincible. In theory, you could just load up, and then this becomes a way to defend himself. Like in theory, you could defend an 8. If he's got enough hits on him.
Yep. True that. Very cool. They're so good at making thematically appropriate cards for their characters.
Yeah, that card is great. It will 100% see play, and it is not a 1 per deck. Okay, I don't think it is, but I just want to double check that one.
Reaper food.
Sucker Punch acts as a level 3 multi-power attack if successful, and target has no hits on their current battle and permanent record. Target must discard 1 place card to them or in hand.
It's interesting. So you want to throw it as an opener, but it's a multi, and nobody wants to take a multi as an opener. So I guess you throw it at not the character you're trying to KO near the end of a battle, try and cheese out a card.
This kind of I like it because it's either it can be a kill shot at the end, or you could try to go for the card advantage at the beginning on someone that doesn't have an icon, maybe like a max 6 character that you're just kind of not dealing with. But if you think there's an opening to get them, either just by virtue of cards placed or played, to get a 2-for-1, out of it, just get a card from them. I think this is cool. Anytime you can get a free multi shot in there, that's always good.
Yeah, multis are great. We love multis. They're so strong they got turned into 1 per decks for power cards.
Imagine if there was a home base that let you play more of them. That might be a card worth playing.
I think it will be.
Next card, Viltrumite Legacy. Invincible is +3 to venture total this battle. Remove 1 hit from Invincible's permanent record.
It's okay. Now I feel like you're kind of not pigeonholed, but you're kind of leaving value on the table if you're not playing him with Asclepion. But the venture boost is nice to come with it.
Yeah, it definitely makes it playable. I mean, think about playing this with Asclepion, right? You're removing a hit, getting an attack, and 3 venture. I mean, that's a lot of value in kind of 1 card, assuming you draw an attack.
Yeah. I was thinking people can just leave him alone, but I am invincible prevents that. Of course, there's only 1 in your deck, so they could, in some situations, leave him alone for a while, but eventually they're going to have to deal with him. So I think you'll see value out of it, a good amount.
Yeah, this is like a card, again, like a situational card. If I'm not playing Asclepion, if for some reason I just don't want to play that with the deck, I'm probably not playing this.
Yeah.
But if I'm playing Asclepion, I'm 100% playing this.
Right. If it was current battle also, I think it would go in every Invincible build. Maybe that's too strong.
Yeah, that's probably a bit too far because it just feels like an auto-include. But I think this is a good situational, playable card. And then his final card, a new one we haven't seen, Brutal Fighter, acts as a level 7 any power attack.
Nice. Or Brute Force if that event comes up. Nice and simple 7. Love it.
Anytime you can just generate a big pile of venture, that's good. I mean, I like this character. It's well-rounded. He's got offense, defense, kind of a premier card, and I am invincible that can really swing things. And at 19 points, I think that's a good spot. This character, I don't think he does anything to he won't be the best at what he does in the set,
Hmm.
but he's so well rounded, which I feels like what they were going for. Like he does a little bit of everything. He's got offense, he's got defense, he's got cards you want to play. Yeah, I think all around this is a good playable character that we'll definitely see and a good boost to brute force decks.
Yeah, I think he could be played kind of. You could even build a team around him, and you do, like teammate avoids and stuff, and you really like use him as your anchor, or you could just kind of use him as like a more of like a support. He's not like full support because he's kind of bringing a lot of venture, but like the secondary threat of your deck. Back up somebody like Hercules or Cthulhu or Battle Beast or something like that.
And a lot of times, like with these defensive characters, or like one character, like a character will have a thing, like have a lane, but he kind of like does a little bit of all of it.
Yep.
So he can kind of fit, like if you need him to be defensive, he can be. If you need him to generate venture, he can. If you need kind of like a kill shot, spectrum or cumulative, he's got that going for him.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough choice for the opponent. Do I leave him alone or do I focus him? It'll depend on who else they're running with him, but I'm sure we'll see plenty of him.
Yeah, I think they did a good job kind of designing this. I mean, it feels like the character. It's not overpowered. It feels right at 19.
Mm-hmm.
I think I look forward to playing Invincible, and I think this will be a good. I think overall this set, between what we've seen so far for Omni-Man and Invincible, brute force will really kind of get some help catching up to the other suits.
Yes, thank goodness.
Yeah, Omni-Man kind of being that Leonidas
or Zeus
character.
even. Yeah.
Yeah, or Zeus style. I mean, I guess he's Zeus cost.
Mm-hmm.
Was like having a tent pole like that. And then, like you said, kind of that number 2 character, especially at the 19 spot. So you have other characters to kind of pay for, Omni-Man or Battle Beast or whoever is pretty important. So, good on them for recognizing that.
Yeah. I almost think like you could even just slot him if you needed a reserve. I mean, I don't think this will be common, but just kind of theory crafting here. If you needed a reserve, you could just play him in the back if you have a brute force deck and then just give him the 10. Or even just I guess the suck hits to him, you kind of need to build around a little more. But that's still a whopping of a punch.
I mean, we did that in, Legacy. Like, people will run Thing in reserve and then just have clobbering time as his one special. So I don't think that's, a bad idea at all. I think it's something we know has worked in the past. Certainly something to keep an eye on, especially at his threat level and having a 7.
Yeah, he's cool. I'm also looking forward to seeing future versions where we see like, season 2 and 3 Invincible, where he gets the proper 8 brute force and he's a little bit higher threat cost. But he's pretty awesome for now.
Yeah, eventually we'll get to Emperor Mark.
Yes.
That'll be sweet.
No
I
kidding.
hope the Skybound sets and the overpower grows long enough that we get to see that final evolution, that like plan that I'm sure Joe has kind of started mapping out in his head of it. I'm looking forward to seeing that one day, but this is sweet. I'm pretty happy with how this character looks.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait. Joe was talking about doing character spotlights, and they're gonna try and do one every week or two up until the release, which I think is great because, I mean, playtesters don't know the final iterations, but we did have a little bit of info ahead of time with being able to try, most of the characters out and whatever. So the drip of information and characters will do nothing but build hype and get people's creative juices flowing for builds, both for Skybound and mixing with ERB and making new stuff and new fresh meta. So August will be here before we know it. We just got to be patient, but I am unbelievably hyped for it.
Same. I was looking at kind of the schedule that was out. I was like, okay, I'll be back in Columbus in time for Origins. And then whatever at the end of June, the OP Cup and Regional is actually my birthday, the June 27th. So I was like, okay, I can get like I can pick up 2 events here, like right after I get back, and then August, I forget what the back half of the schedule is.
Oh, August is, yeah, or not August, but September. September is the is the Seattle regional and NAOL regional, which will be modern only. But and some people might groan and be like, "Oh, it's double modern back to back." It is, but we will be the first tournament with the new Skybound cards. So it will be fresh. We will be seeing new, different decks, both tournaments. There will be a lot of Invincible action that week, which will be, and Walking Dead, which will be awesome.
Yeah, I think having double modern makes sense there. I think people will be so hyped for it. They will be glad to play double modern for sure.
Yeah. Plus locally, I mean, all the guys we've brought to the game. I mean, there's maybe 5 or 6 of us who have legacy cards and play legacy every once in a while, but almost everybody else in our 20 plus does modern only. So it'll be. I think it's just going to be better that way.
Well, anything else on Invincible or coming up for Nats before we get out of here?
I don't think so. I'm excited to see what everybody brings. There's a couple decks I am not looking forward to playing, and we have a lot of good players who like haven't found their amazing gem yet, and I think that this might be the tourney where it happens. The field's going to be insane. There's talk of potentially triple digits of competitors. I also heard that the last chance qualifier, which I really hope I get to see a part of. I got a couple buddies that are in that one, and I'm rooting for them. But there's going to be some tough competition. I've heard there'll be 24 to 30 people vying for those last 8 spots to slide in, and I got my eye on some of these new guys. And there's like the Ohio crew has a new guy who's incredible, and he's just absorbing the game like crazy. Couple of my buddies are pretty solid, and then some guys from the online, and they're just, it's going to be crazy. And Overpower is so cool because it's, there's what you put in, you get out, like a lot of things in life, but there's always that variance in that like that matchup or that, those draws, and if your deck betrays you or not with duplicates. And there is enough variance where anything can happen, and it's anybody's tournament. We might see some people who haven't top eighted before, the top 4.
Yeah, it took an impromptu break there, but yeah, just kind of getting out of here. Looking forward to seeing everyone at Nationals, looking to see forward with what everyone, comes up with. And yeah, it's going to be a great time. I hope I'm there. And if not, I look forward to, watching after the fact and seeing what people bring.
And during, sounds like we're going to have some multiple streams going this time. So there'll be no dark tournament like we've had before. There'll be like the Ohio guys are streaming, and then LRG said they're doing 1 or 2 streams. I heard that there's going to be 3 streams going simultaneously. So there should be lots of content.
Probably
the third was you.
Me. Yeah,
that's
the
right.
third was going to be me. Like I've been working on a more mobile setup to travel on a plane. Assuming I can go, I actually will be like, I have what I need to do that, and I can, bring it on a plane now. It's just, sometimes life gets in the way, unfortunately. Yeah. But we still got some time, so more to come. Maybe we can squeeze in one more episode before Nats.
Yeah,
I'm hoping. Maybe we can record something before then. I'm sure
Sounds
we'll have more developments then. Or if Joe wants to give us some more preview cards.
Yeah, I'm gonna go beg him. Especially, I'm gonna show him. Look how many thousands of people watched our podcast, and they're begging for more. And I haven't seen any character spotlights yet. So come on, throw us a bone, buddy. One more time.
We are the character spotlights right now.
That's right. We'll just do it for you. Just feed us their stuff. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, Andrew, always good chatting with you. Thanks for listening. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, we appreciate the support. Thanks so much. Thanks, Rob.